Thank you for joining us again this week. This is the second DVD of a series of DVDs interviewing pioneers and members of Masjid Al-Mu'minun. Today is April the 30th, 2010. And again, today we have Imam and Administrator of Masjid Al-Mu'minun, Memphis, Tennessee. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
We're having this interview and conversation today, and I'm very honored to have an opportunity to speak with you and discuss your, hopefully, your life as it pertains to prior Islamic experiences as well as your acceptance of Al-Islam and how you view our progress and where you hope that we will be going in the future. So I would start off by just asking you, and again, this is just a conversation.
All right.
Give us an example of, or give us a view of your life as a young man coming up in Memphis, as it pertains to your family structure and these types of things.
Okay. I'm going to go back to a stage as a young boy, because it's real relevant. I have to. My name was not Rashad Sharif when I was born. It was William Oscar Spate III. And my grandfather, William Oscar Spate Sr., had moved from Carolina, North Carolina, to Memphis to set up his medical practice. So the Spates, so to speak, started with him.
And what year?
Approximately 1909 or something like that. And his son continued in the medical practice, and all of them were Episcopal. There was a black Episcopal church in Memphis, which still exists. And so they were like trustee level type people in that church. And I was William Oscar Spate III, little boy. And so the family church was the Episcopal church. And that's what Episcopal is very clear to me, because that's what I grew up. But I know most people aren't Episcopal. So I'll mention for whoever it might benefit that it's amongst the Protestants, it's the next thing to Catholic. It's as Catholic as you can be and still be Protestant. So, they have altar boys like the Catholic Church does. They swing the incense like the Catholic Church does. And they have similar doctrines and rituals to the Catholic Church. So I was an altar boy. I went to Sunday school, vacation Bible school, and I was an altar boy also. And it was my pre-Islamic life, but the thoughts that started me towards where I am now started in that particular church. All the articles of faith in Islam I learned really in Sunday school. God, angels, books of scripture, messengers, life after death, God's determining power over all of those, all things, that type of thing. But as an altar boy, one of my jobs was to move the Bible from one side of the altar to another side of the altar at a certain point in the service. And when the priest was supposed to pick it up from one side of the altar, he was reading the gospel. And after I moved it to the other side of the altar, when he would pick it up from there and pick it up and turn to the congregation, he was reading the epistle. So kneeling and having these teachings being read almost over my head or a few feet away, I noticed that the picture, when religion was being taught from the gospel side of the altar, when Jesus was speaking about it, the picture was different to me from the way the picture seemed to be explained when he would read it from the epistle side of the altar, which was the letters being sent out after Jesus was died to explain the religion. So I was wondering about that. And there's also this big crucifix, huge crucifix, on the wall over the altar. And in Sunday school class, they talked about how you're not supposed to make images. So all of these thoughts running around in my mind were predisposing me to appreciate the message of Al-Islam once I finally heard it.
So you were basically confused by the process, the images, and these types of things as a boy? Or was it 100% acceptance?
No, it wasn't that so much confused as it was that I was feeling like something isn't straight. Okay? Something isn't quite matching. And I'm thinking, I had an opinion. Seeing this image and hearing that you're not supposed to make images, I was of the opinion that that image wasn't supposed to be there. And hearing Jesus talk about who the Lord was, it was pretty clear that it was somebody over him. And then hearing the epistle side talk about the Lord like it was Jesus, I didn't feel that Jesus was off. I feel like there's something off about this other message, like if Jesus is the star of the whole thing. The teaching ought to be the way he taught it. And I was detecting that it was being taught two different ways. So when I was 10, which was 1957, my parents bought a set of Time Life books, the kind of books people buy and set on the coffee table because they look so good. Bought the adult version and the children's version of the great religions of the world. And I read them both editions cover to cover. But when I got to the chapter on Islam, and this was at age 10, I lit up. I just found myself saying, that's right. I knew it. Okay? So, it was Brother Faruqi. I believe his name is Ismail Faruqi. He's passed now, but I did live to meet him. He contributed the Islam article to the Time Life compilation of the great religions of the world. And, it said things like the Muslims believe that there shouldn't be images. The Muslims believe that the God that Jesus was talking about is the only God. So that's right. But because it was 57, I remember emotionally, I don't remember exact words, but emotionally, I remember concluding like, isn't it just my luck that this is only for people overseas? Because the pictures weren't pictures from America. It was like Afghanistan and Africa and different places overseas where they illustrated this, and it was the segregated South, so it was just like a normal thing to see something that was attractive and it's like whites only. Or, you want to go to the zoo and it's not Thursday, which is our only day. Or you want to go to the fairground and it's not Tuesday, which is our only day, as I recall. So I remember saying, it's kind of like that. You have to be certain people and whatever, and it's not available. But toward the end of that section in the book, they had Al-Fatiha, the entire second surah of the Quran, Al-Baqarah, and several more short surahs. They just printed them all. And I read them all.
So basically then, At that point in time, I would think that you were reading foreign information and you were digesting it, and it was finding its place in your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And let me ask you this question. I'm going to follow up with something else. But how many children were in
my family? I was the only child.
The only child. Okay.
So I read a lot.
Right. Okay. Your parents push you to learn, or you were just?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to say because I didn't really observe how everybody else got done. But it was like a normal thing that there were like plenty of books.
Okay. In the household?
In the house.
Okay.
But for me, whatever my age appropriate book collection would be, there was just like plenty of books.
In other words, the literature was in the house for you?
Yeah. They kept me stopped.
Yeah. Right. Volumes. Okay. Now, the Islamic material finding its place in your soul and in your heart. Did you continue to look for other materials, or did you just decide that, okay, I got this information now, and I'm storing it in my
what happened was,
memory?
As a kid of 10, I got sold on it, and then wrote it off as unavailable.
Okay.
Put the book back in my grandmother's closet, and that must have something to do with the Korean War. Okay, the Korean War.
Korean War. Okay.
Because there was a time my father went to the Korean War,
okay,
and we moved in with my grandmother's house. But I remember putting it back in my grandmother's closet with a feeling like, oh well. So I was convinced that Islam was straight, but I was also under the impression it was unavailable. So I didn't really go searching more. I just went with the attitude like, oh well, okay, it's unavailable. Like some people are convinced of the value of something, but they just don't think that they'll ever have it.
Did that information, at the point that you learned, did it influence your behavior or anything like that? You were just...
No, it didn't influence my behavior.
I know you were at the age of 10, man.
Yeah. It didn't really influence my behavior. It was just like a seed planted in me. And what happened was, it was more like a sleeper thing planted in me. We'll skip from 57 to 1975, at which point I had to do the math. I guess I was 28, something like that. Anyhow, I read in Jet magazine that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had passed. And I was always impressed with the Nation of Islam, but I never connected it back with that particular book. And it said something to the effect that his son was going to make universal Islam available in America. Now, I read that in the context of big mental note. Oh, the thing that I wrote off a long time ago that I know is straight is going to be available in America. So then that was like another preparation inside. I didn't take much of a step. Then I was in a study group, just kind of studying philosophy. It was back in the 70s, people were burning incense and studying Eastern stuff or whatever, with Cecil Lincoln, who's the son of Dr. C. Eric Lincoln, who wrote a study on the Nation of Islam. Anyway, and we got around to discussing Islam and the Quran. Somebody had a Quran. And I started looking through it, and the feelings came back again. Then I got on the phone and I called the embassy in Washington, D.C. for some reason. That was my logic. To see how to get one, and I got one. Then I went back over to my grandmother's house after a gap of almost 20 years or whatever, went straight to the same closet where I remembered the book and the book was still there. And I opened it and started reading it again and all the feelings came back, and that was the experience for me.
What a wonderful experience. Now we established that in your home there was a library.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Now, that library was there for your learning and placed there by your parents. Okay.
Well, when
now,
I was
what was your academic?
When I was a kid, it was really more like a book stand with a bunch of bookshelves.
Okay. So tell us about your academic side, your high school. First and foremost, have you always been a Memphian?
I've always been a Memphian as far as a base and a home. There's been just temporary relocation for school purposes. So I started school very close to my house. My house was in the Booker, Washington part of town, 689 Edith Avenue, right down the street from Booker T. Jones or Booker T. and the MGs.
Okay.
You know, I didn't know he was going to become a stacks artist yet. I mean, at that time. And where Lemoyne Owen College's dorms are now, behind the student center, there was a private Lutheran cooperative elementary school. And so I started school there. Skipped the second grade because second and third were in one room. So you could do your second grade work and eavesdrop on the third grade work and start raising your hand for their questions and whatever. So I started second grade and at the end of the year finished from the third. And then as far as fifth grade, I did fifth grade in St. Louis because my father was going back to medical school for a specialty. And the medical school he was going to was in St. Louis. So I went through that transition to that school system. Well, basically, after that, back to Memphis. And, you know, I did well in the Memphis City School. It was public school, Hamilton. My folks, new folks at Hamilton, so they could get reports on me better if they planted me at Hamilton, where there was eyes in my family. And that went well, but it did get to be a little unusual because I was proceeding at a pace where, you know, teachers started leaving me in charge of the rest. And then going into the office and listening on the intercom and dealing with the room and whatnot. So I got two things happened. One, my name got put on the North Cross suit for the desegregation of the Memphis City School because the neighbor across the street was the lead plaintiff for his daughter.